More than 200 students with signs and flags in hand made the march from City Hall to Beer Cheer Hall to kick off the 9th annual First Amendment Day.
We're marching today to express our freedom to assemble and our freedom of speech that are rights that are granted by the First Amendment. And it's basically just to kind of show awareness for the First Amendment and educate people.
We're marching for freedom. The five freedoms of the First Amendment, and we need to remind everybody that they're the cornerstone not only of most of our rights and liberties, but also of education.
Hundreds of Greenlee students each year convene on Central Campus for a free meal and to have their voices heard on the soapbox on First Amendment Day.
Exceptions for national security, but even there, the government has to demonstrate those things.
While waiting in line for their free meals, students were able to visit booths set up to hear from various on-campus organizations expressing their First Amendment rights.
Well, my hope would be that a little bit at a time students can get the idea that it's so important to embrace these freedoms and continue to carry that forward in their lives. And too often when you hear that students don't even know what the First Amendment is, when they don't have any realization of what it does for them, then you start to think maybe those things can go away, and you don't want that to happen.
Throughout the afternoon, numerous speakers expressed their views and opinions on soapboxes placed in Central Campus.
So I think if you don't know what's in the First Amendment, you don't have a fundamental understanding of what's there, you're really not prepared to have these complex debates about how our society is going to operate. So we think there's a need to sort of retrench, go back, find out what's in the First Amendment. It's what this day is all about. What is really there in those five freedoms?
ISU Provost Elizabeth Hoffman joined Greenlee School professors and students to plant a liberty tree.
Of speech. It's more than freedom of or from religion. It's more than the right to petition the government, and it's more than the right to peaceably assemble.
First Amendment to me, I guess on a basic level, protects the career that I've chosen to go into, journalism, but on a broader sense, protects democracy by giving us the ability to hold our government accountable and live our own individual lives.
At the end of the day, the most important thing to students and faculty alike is to be able to express themselves freely.
Only 6% of the population can name all five freedoms in the First Amendment. So, I mean, you're talking about the foundational principle of what makes this country the United States of America, and only 6 people know what the freedoms are. I think it's important that more people know that.
But it does mean that the power of the state cannot be used in any way to tell me what to believe in terms of religious faith. It means that they can't stop me from speaking my mind. It means that they can't stop me from writing what I care to write. It means that the bells can go off at any moment, but it also means I can petition and assemble the government for change anytime without fear of going to jail or being stopped or limited or restrained or censored. So it's really the basic principles by which our democracy operates.
First Amendment means to me that, first of all, we live in a great country that lets us have these freedoms and practice these freedoms. I think too often we take for granted that we live in a country that offers us these freedoms, and we just need to constantly be reminded that it's a great privilege to be able to exercise our rights.
The First Amendment is what lets me do my job as a journalist. It's what lets me write an article that could be critical of a senator, a governor, a politician, whoever. I really think that covering politics and covering the government is sort of the foundation of journalism, and the First Amendment essentially allows that.
On a daily basis, as the editor-in-chief of the Daily, I work a lot with the content we put in the newspaper, and everything we publish is an expression of the freedom of press. And you know, when I write an editorial, that's expressing my opinion, so it's sort of speech and press, I suppose.
If we didn't have the First Amendment, you wouldn't have this great democracy we have today.
For ISUtv, with the ISUtv News team and Alexis Eichscheid, I'm Andrew Schneider.